Adeline Vargas had always been a chaser, of thrills, of secrets, of anything that made her feel less like the awkward 15-year-old kid from a sleepy suburb outside San Diego, shipped off to Spain for the summer because her parents thought culture would fix her aimless rebellion. It was 2008, and the world was crumbling under economic freefall back home, but in the sun-baked streets of Barcelona's Gracia neighborhood, Adeline found her escape, Camp Rodada, an elite all-girls skateboarding retreat tucked into the hills of Catalonia, west of the city. Not just any camp, this one was whispered about in underground forums as a haven for queer girls, a place where you could ollie over your insecurities without judgment, sponsored by some progressive American nonprofit that flew in instructors from California. Adeline didn't care about the politics, she just wanted the ramps, the rush, the chance to grind rails under olive trees instead of dodging her mom's disappointed sighs. But there was a catch. The application form, buried in fine print amid waivers about concussions and sunburns, asked point-blank, "This camp prioritizes a safe space for LGBTQ+ youth. Do you identify as such?" Adeline stared at her laptop screen in her cramped Airbnb room, the cursor blinking like an accusation. She wasn't out, not to her Baptist-raised family, not to her straight-A best friend back home, not even to herself. She'd crushed on boys in middle school, sure, but lately, her daydreams had veered into uncharted territory, the curve of a classmate's jawline during gym class, the way a girl's laugh could make her stomach flip like dropping into a half-pipe. Panicking, with the deadline looming and visions of endless soccer drills as her only alternative, Adeline typed, "yes," and hit send. A lie, sharp as a switchblade, slicing through her gut. What harm could it do? It was just words on a screen, a ticket to freedom. The camp van picked her up at dawn, rattling over cobblestone streets toward the rugged coastline where the Pyrenees kissed the sea. Adeline clutched her board, a beat-up Santa Cruz with chipped wheels, like a shield, her heart pounding as she scanned the other girls piling in. There was Riley from Portland, with neon-dyed buzzcut and a tattoo of a broken heart on her knuckles, Sophia from Miami, olive-skinned and fierce, flipping tricks on her board even in the moving vehicle. And then Haley Whitaker, slouched in the back row, 17 going on timeless, with sun-kissed blonde hair tied in a messy bun and eyes like the clearest aquamarine, reading a dog-eared copy of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Haley glanced up, caught Adeline staring, and flashed a crooked smile that hit like a kickflip, effortless, disarming. "First time in España?" she asked, her voice carrying that lazy SoCal drawl, like she'd grown up chasing waves in Huntington Beach. "Yeah," Adeline managed, sliding into the seat beside her, the van's AC blasting cool relief against the rising heat. "You?" "Third summer. My dad, some expat architect, drags me here every year to build character." Haley air-quoted with one hand, the other absent-mindedly tracing the grip tape on her deck. "But hey, free tacos and vert ramps. I'll take it." They talked the whole ride, about Thrasher mag spreads, the best indie punk playlists for sessions, how the camp's "no boys, no bullshit" rule felt like finally exhaling. Adeline laughed too loud at Haley's jokes, her cheeks burning, attributing it to jet lag. By the time they pulled up to the camp, a cluster of low-slung adobe cabins ringed by a massive skatepark carved into terraced cliffs overlooking the Atlantic, Adeline had already woven Haley into her summer like a new scar, permanent and itching. The first week blurred into a symphony of scrapes and sweat. Morning started with yoga on dew-kissed grass, instructors leading them through sun salutations while gulls wheeled overhead. Afternoons were for the park, bombing hills on the coastal paths, sessioning the bowl under relentless sun, the air thick with the scent of eucalyptus and sea spray. Evenings brought bonfires on the beach, where girls swapped stories under star-pricked skies, coming out tales that twisted Adeline's insides, making her sip her contraband sangria faster to drown the guilt. She nodded along, fabricating fragments of her own journey, a vague crush on a theater girl in 8th grade, stolen glances in the locker room. Lies stacked like unstable stacks of cinder blocks, threatening to topple. Haley was the gravitational pull. She moved like poetry on 4 wheels, graceful lines, explosive pops, teaching Adeline to manual across wobbly wooden bridges spanning dry riverbeds. "Trust the board, not your fear," she'd say, her hands steady on Adeline's waist during a stall, fingers warm through the thin cotton of her tank top. Adeline's pulse would thunder, a confusing storm she chalked up to adrenaline. One night, after a group hike to a hidden cove where bioluminescent waves glowed like liquid stars, Haley pulled her aside. They sat on driftwood, toes buried in cool sand, the camp's distant laughter fading into the tide's hush. "You ever feel like you're faking it?" Haley asked, her voice soft, vulnerable in the moonlight. She picked at a hangnail, avoiding Adeline's eyes. "Like, everyone's so sure here, labels and all, and I'm just drifting." Adeline's throat tightened. This was her opening, her chance to come halfway clean. But the lie loomed, a shadow she couldn't shake. All the time, she whispered instead, leaning her shoulder against Haley's. "But maybe that's the point. We figure it out as we go." Haley turned, her gaze searching, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the salt on their skin, the unspoken spark igniting between them. Their first kiss happened then, tentative, tasting of sea and stolen courage, Haley's lips soft, questioning, Adeline's responding with a hunger she didn't know she had. It was fireworks over the foam, simple and shattering. Summer deepened, and so did they. Stolen moments in the camp's olive grove, hands intertwined during midnight skate runs, whispers about futures, Haley dreaming of pro tours in Europe, Adeline dodging college apps back home. They carved initials into a cork oak's bark, A+H inside a sloppy heart, laughing at how juvenile it seemed. But beneath the romance, fissures formed. Adeline's phone buzzed with texts from her mom, "When are you coming back to reality?" Reminders of the world waiting to judge. And Haley, opening up layer by layer, shared her scars, a conservative family in Orange County that shipped her to Spain to straighten her out, the isolation of being the only out kid in her high school. "You're lucky," she'd say, nuzzling Adeline's neck during lazy afternoons in their shared cabin bunk. "You get to choose this. For me, it's survival." Guilt gnawed at Adeline like a bad wipeout. She wasn't choosing, she was pretending. Yet every time Haley looked at her, like she was the only solid thing in a spinning world, Adeline convinced herself the lie was protection, a bridge to something real. By week's end, as the camp van prepared to ferry them back to Barcelona, they promised emails, visits, forever in the hyperbolic way of summer loves. "Don't fade on me, Vargas," Haley teased, pressing a silver skate key necklace into Adeline's palm. "This is our lock-in." Adeline flew home with bruises blooming like badges and a heart rewritten in indelible ink. High school senior year dragged, AP classes, college essays, pretending to flirt with the quarterback at homecoming. But Haley was her anchor, late-night calls crackling across oceans, care packages of Spanish sweets and mixtapes. They navigated time zones and teenage angst, Adeline's lies buried deeper, fertilized by genuine longing. When Haley visited California that Christmas, bundled in a beanie against the rare rain, kissing Adeline under the pier's neon glow, Adeline almost confessed. Almost. Instead, she pulled Haley closer, whispering, "You're my truth." College scattered them further. Adeline at UC Santa Cruz, majoring in environmental studies, interning at skate nonprofits, Haley at a small liberal arts school in Vermont, chasing graphic design and snowboarding. Visits became sporadic, spring break in New York, where they wandered Brooklyn's graffiti alleys hand in hand, a tense Thanksgiving when Haley met Adeline's parents, the air thick with unspoken probes. "She's just a friend from camp," Adeline lied again, the words ash in her mouth. Haley squeezed her hand under the table, eyes saying "I get it." By 25, life had sanded their edges. Adeline landed a gig coordinating urban skate programs in San Francisco, her apartment a shrine to their history, faded camp photos, Haley's old board mounted on the wall. Haley, freelance illustrating for indie zines, bounced between Barcelona and LA, her emails laced with wanderlust. They were long-distance pros, FaceTime dates over pad thai, surprise tickets for birthdays. But distance bred doubts. When are we doing this for real? Haley asked during a wine-fueled call, her face pixelated but pained. Adeline promised soon, always soon, ignoring the knot in her chest. The unraveling started subtly. A mutual friend from camp, Riley, now a tattoo artist in Seattle, posted throwback pics online, tagging them in a group shot from that first summer. Adeline scrolled past, but Haley lingered, zooming in on Adeline's application waiver peeking from her backpack in one frame. "What's that say?" Haley messaged later, casual as sea glass. Adeline's blood ran cold. "It was nothing," she typed back. "A doodle." But seeds of suspicion took root. 2 years later, in the summer of 2015, Adeline found herself back in Spain, not by choice, but by cruel coincidence. Her nonprofit had partnered with a European youth initiative, funding a pop-up skate camp in the same Catalan hills, a full-circle echo that twisted like a poorly landed heel flip. She arrived jet-lagged, hauling gear up the dusty road, the air heavy with jasmine and memory. The cliffs hadn't changed, the ramps gleamed new under solar lights. And there, directing teen volunteers with that effortless command, was Haley, older, sharper, her blonde hair cropped to a chin-length bob that framed high cheekbones and laugh lines just beginning to etch. "Addie." Haley's voice cut through the chatter, a mix of shock and something guarded. She dropped her clipboard, crossing the gravel lot in quick strides, pulling Adeline into a hug that smelled of sunscreen and sage. "What the hell? You didn't say you were coming." "Last-minute grand thing," Adeline murmured into her shoulder, inhaling deeply, fighting the urge to cling. "Surprise." Haley pulled back, eyes scanning her face, Adeline's auburn waves longer now, streaked with early grays from stress, her frame leaner from city runs and skipped meals. The best kind. But her smile didn't reach her eyes, and over the next days, as they co-led sessions, coaching girls on drop-ins, sharing lunch under pergolas draped in bougainvillea, the undercurrent simmered. Nights were the worst. The camp's beach bonfires reignited old rhythms, esmores and stories, Haley's guitar strumming folk covers of Tegan and Sarah. Adeline watched her, mesmerized by the firelight dancing on Haley's skin, the way her fingers, calloused from strings and decks, danced over frets. One evening, after the kids turned in, they walked the shore alone, waves lapping at their bare feet, the Milky Way a spilled sugar trail overhead. "I've missed this," Adeline said, a voice barely above the surf. "Us. Here." Haley stopped, toes curling into wet sand. "Me too. But Addie. We've been circling for years. I need more than summers and screens." She turned, blue eyes fierce in the dark. "I love you, God, I do, but love's not enough if it's half built on sand." Adeline's chest caved. This was it, the pivot, the chance to lay bricks. "I know. I've been scared. My family's. And work, it's crazy. But I'm ready. Move to San Fran with me. We'll figure the rest." Haley searched her face, then nodded, a tentative dawn. "Okay. Yeah. Let's build." Their kiss that night was deeper, hungrier, a reclamation, salt and promise mingling as they tumbled onto a blanket under the stars, bodies remembering paths long untrod. Not frantic, but fervent, hands mapping familiar landscapes with the reverence of rediscovery. The affair, no, the rekindling, ignited like dry tinder. Mornings blurred into shared cabins, whispers over coffee, afternoons stolen in the olive grove, where their carved initials had weathered but endured. Haley sketched Adeline mid-trick, capturing her mid-air joy. Adeline taught her to carve long lines on coastal paths, wind whipping laughter from them. For 2 weeks, it was idle, raw, real, the lie from 15 years prior fossilized, irrelevant. But truth has a way of eroding foundations. On the camp's penultimate night, during a talent showcase, a volunteer unearthed an old camp scrapbook from the office archives, yellowed pages of Polaroids and notes from that inaugural summer. The girls oohed over faded shots, and there it was, Adeline at 15, grinning gap-toothed beside Haley, her backpack unzipped just enough to reveal the application form's corner. Haley, passing by with a tray of sangria, froze. The page flipped under eager fingers, and there, in Adeline's looping teen scrawl, the question and answer, "Do you identify?" Yes. It should have been nothing. But Haley's gaze sharpened, piecing fragments, Adeline's hesitance that first summer, the overcompensating stories, the way she'd always deflected deeper probes into her past. Later, in their cabin, as thunder rumbled from distant Pyrenees storms, Haley confronted her, not with shouts, but quiet devastation. Was it true, Addie? Back then. She sat on the edge of the bunk, hands clasped white-knuckled, rain pattering the tin roof like accusations. That yes on the form. Was it you, or just a way in? Adeline's world tilted. She sank to the floor, back against the wall, the lie uncoiling like smoke after years suppressed. I didn't know. Not really. I wanted in so bad, the camp, the escape. And you. Tears tracked hot down her cheeks. It started as a lie, but Haley, everything after. That was real. You made it real. Haley's face crumpled, a dam breaking. 15 years, Addie. We've built a life on this, kisses in coves, promises across oceans, and it was fake at the start. How do I trust the rest? She stood, pacing the small space, voice rising with the wind. I bared everything to you, my family's hate, my fears, and you were playing pretend? No. Adeline lunged up, grabbing Haley's arms, desperation clawing her throat. It wasn't pretend. The lie was the door, but you. You were the reason I stayed. I fell for you before I even understood what falling meant. She poured it out then, the confusion of puberty, the pressure of straight-laced suburbia, the way Haley's smile had cracked her open, reshaping her from the inside. That summer, I discovered myself because of you. The lie became truth. You became my truth. Haley wrenched free, backing toward the door, rain-slicked hair clinging to her face like tears. But it was built on deception. Every time I trusted you, it echoes that first, yes, a forgery. Her voice broke, raw as exposed roots. I need space. To breathe without wondering what's real. She fled into the storm, leaving Adeline shattered on the floor, the cabin's shadow swallowing her sobs. The night stretched eternal, lightning fracturing the dark, mirroring the fractures in Adeline's soul. By dawn, Haley was gone, packed her bag, caught an early train to Barcelona, a terse text, need time. Don't follow. Adeline finished the camp in a haze, directing sessions on autopilot, her smiles brittle as overcooked asphalt. The kids sensed it, their energy a bomb and a blade. Back in San Francisco, the apartment echoed hollow, Haley's sketches half-finished on the table, her board gathering dust. Weeks bled into months, unanswered calls, emails met with silence, mutual friends tiptoeing around the void. Adeline threw herself into work, organizing community builds in the mission, mentoring queer youth on ramps under the Golden Gate's shadow, channeling pain into purpose. But nights were interrogations, replaying the betrayal not of her lie, but of its delayed detonation. Betrayal cut both ways. Haley, holed up in her Barcelona flat overlooking the Gothic Quarter's spires, wrestled her own demons. She'd always been the bold one, the girl who'd kissed Adeline first, who'd inked, fearless, on her ribcage after coming out at 16. But Adeline's secret unearthed old wounds, her father's dismissals, masked as concern, the isolation of loving in half-shadows. Was their love authentic, or just a pretty fiction? She sketched furiously, storm-tossed lovers on cliffs, boards splintered mid-air, pouring fury onto paper. Friends urged reconciliation, Riley even mediated a call, but Haley hung up, voice trembling. I can't risk my heart on maybes. Yet absence amplified ache. Barcelona's streets, once vibrant escapes, mocked her, every cafe corner a ghost of Adeline's laugh, every sunset over the sea a reminder of stolen kisses. Haley dated casually, a barista with a poet's tongue, a fellow artist at gallery openings, but they faded like echoes, none igniting the fire Adeline had kindled. One rainy October evening, thumbing through old emails, she unearthed their first exchange, Adeline's words, tentative and true, describing a San Diego sunset that felt like the start of something infinite. Tears blurred the screen. The lie was the seed, love, the bloom. But could roots survive uprooting? Spring 2018 arrived like a hesitant thaw. Adeline, now 30, had armored herself in routine, dawn patrols on Ocean Beach, therapy sessions unpacking the lie's long shadow, a promotion that kept her buried in grant proposals. She'd stopped checking Haley's socials, the ritual a self-inflicted wound, but serendipity, or fate's wry humor, intervened at a global skate symposium in Lisbon. Adeline was keynote NG on inclusive park design, Haley, invited as a visual collaborator, her illustrations projected behind speakers. They locked eyes across the auditorium during soundcheck, the room's hum fading to a pulse. After, in the hotel's rooftop bar overlooking the Tagus River's glitter, they collided, awkward hugs dissolving into lingering touches. You look good, Haley said, voice husky from disuse, her bob grown out to waves that softened her edges. Adeline, in turn, saw the wear, faint circles under Haley's eyes, a new tattoo of an olive branch curling her forearm. You too. Congrats on the book deal, saw the announcement. Small talk, a bridge of pleasantries over chasms. They talked till closing, careers, travels, the kids from that fateful camp now pros in their own rights. Wine loosened tongues, and truths tumbled. Adeline first, I get it now, why you ran. The lie wasn't just words, it invalidated your pain, made our start feel tainted. I'm sorry, not for who I was then, but for not owning it sooner. Vulnerability cracked her open, raw as fresh grip tape. Haley listened, fingers tracing the stem of her glass. I was angry, at you, at us, at how love can twist. But mostly at myself, for needing certainty in something as messy as feelings. She exhaled, meeting Adeline's gaze. Therapy helped. Turns out, betrayal's a teacher, shows you your fractures, so you can mend stronger. Dawn found them walking Lisbon's tiled streets, hands brushing, then clasping. No grand gestures, just quiet steps toward possibility. What now? Adeline asked, as they paused at a miraduro, city sprawling below like a promise. Haley smiled, that crooked curve Adeline had chased across continents. We start honest. No camps, no lies, just us, figuring the turns. They didn't rush. Haley relocated to the Bay Area that fall, subletting a studio in Bernal Heights, her sketches now adorning Adeline's walls alongside their shared history. Dates were simple, farmers' market brunches, sunset sessions at the Embarcadero, where they'd manual hand in hand, laughing at wipeouts. Conflicts arose, Haley's wanderlust clashing with Adeline's rootedness, family holidays a minefield of half-truths, but they navigated with tools honed by time, open talks over tea, apologies without armor. The real test came a year in, during Pride Month. Adeline's parents, softened by grandkids from her brother's side and a lifetime of quiet evolution, invited them to a backyard barbecue in San Diego. Haley hesitated, old scars itching, but Adeline coaxed, not for them, for us. Show them the truth we built. Under string lights and the hum of cicadas, Adeline took Haley's hand, voice steady, Mom, Dad, this is Haley. My partner. The one who taught me to love without limits. Silence stretched, taut as a taut line, then her mother's tentative smile, she's lovely, Addie. Welcome. No fanfare, but acceptance, humanistic quiet, earned in increments. Haley cried later, in the guest room, Adeline holding her as sobs shook free years of guarded hope. Years folded forward. By 2025, at 32, they ran a joint program, Wheels of Us, a non-profit blending skate clinics with queer youth storytelling workshops, chapters sprouting from San Francisco to Barcelona. Adeline, with laugh lines etching her green eyes, proposed on a whim during a coastal camp redux, down on one knee atop the old vert ramp, ring glinting like a polished wool bearing. From one lie to a lifetime of truths, she said, voice thick. Haley, tears streaming, pulled her up, yes. 1,000 times. Their wedding was a mosaic, vows exchanged on that Catalan cliff, waves crashing benediction, friends from every chapter toasting with cava and IPAs. Riley officiated, cracking jokes about finally sticking the landing. Sophia designed the invites, etched with intertwined boards. Adeline's family came, awkward but present, Haley's dad sending a card with uncharacteristic warmth, proud of your path. Life wasn't flawless. Arguments flared over travel budgets, insecurities whispered in quiet hours, the world's cruelties, hate crimes splashed on news feeds, policy rollbacks, tested their resilience. But they endured, humanistic in their imperfection, therapy check-ins, gratitude journals scrawled on napkins, skate dates where wipeouts ended in kisses. One evening, years later, on that same Barcelona beach where it began, Adeline traced the faded initials on the oak, now weathered, encircled by new growth. Haley leaned against her, head on shoulder, the sea's rhythm a lullaby. Think the lie was worth it, she murmured. Adeline kissed her temple. It led here. To you. That's truth enough. In the end, the lie wasn't a fracture but a forge, hammering doubt into devotion, pretense into profound love. They rolled on, side by side, over life's ramps and rails, proving that even the shakiest start could land in grace.